to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
What people say, but I keep cruising, can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I've got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be alright. Cause the player's gonna play, and the hater's gonna hate. Baby, I'm just gonna shake. I shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break. And the thinker's gonna fake. Baby, I'm just gonna shake. I shake it off. I never miss a beat.
Got voices in my head. Just can't get them out sometimes.
This is me, the Explosion. You're listening to Two Strangers on Podcast. Bunch of douchebags.
Hello, this is Platypus. You're listening to Two Strangers One Podcast. You know who else likes Two Strangers One Podcast?
My mom! It's a bunch of a-holes.
What kind of feeling? I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. I'm hooked on a feeling.
Well, hello and welcome to Two Strangers One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
And as people who follow the show know, part of our origin story, part of how Paul and I met, every couple has a cute story on how they met. Well, Paul and I met at a local convention here in Rochester. I mean, Rochester, we're stuck in between Syracuse and Buffalo. It has its ups and downs, but Rochester is still technically a small town. So a small town Comic-Con convention it leaves a lot to be desired. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Right.
But so recently, right before the show, Paul and I were talking about our local comic book convention, RockCon. I guess they started an Indiegogo campaign, and Paul is pissed off. So.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Ever since I saw it go up, I was like, I gotta talk about this on Two Strangers. Oh my God, I gotta talk about this. Well, first of all, I will give them credit for this last RockCon. They had some good sci-fi guests. They still haven't. Don't get me wrong. I like Vic Mignogna as a guest, but having him year after year after year is kind of redundant. Okay, I think everybody in Rochester has probably seen Vic Mignogna by now.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, Vic. Don't hate on me, but it's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, RockCon had moved to a new venue.
Yeah, because we didn't even go this year.
Right, no. We were actually thinking about doing like a Toonami Faithful Podcast / Two Strangers thing, like buying a table, but it's so expensive to buy a table there. It's like it's not really even worth it sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, like if I could do just one day, like do like Saturday and then that's it, great, that'd be fine. If it was cost me like maybe $25-$50, okay, fine. But most of their packages are like 3 days, and I'm not looking for 3 days. I'm just looking for one day because, well, me and Chris have to work. To be honest, me and Chris have to work, and I don't make that much money where I can just be like, let me put $150,000 down. It's not $150,000, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like $100 or $200 for a table. And from what I've actually heard from other vendors is, like, they can get cheaper at these other cons because they're looking for people to come in and sell the food, sell the anime gear, all this other stuff. So it would be interesting to see how many vendors are still with RockCon. But so I saw this Indiegogo come up, and I was like, okay, you guys are looking to raise money. And when I went over what the Indiegogo has, and I can kind of give you briefly what they basically said is they're basically trying to get money together to bring in the big name guests. Now, okay, fine. They don't really find that they say, okay, well, we're not trying to get somebody from like The Big Bang Theory or Shatner or Stan Lee, but we're trying to get somebody. We're trying to get a couple people that we can get with this $15,000 that we're trying to raise. Well, the problem is that with me and I've talked about this. First of all, I know people in the business. I've been conversating with other people about getting advertising. Possibly even on this podcast. But, sorry, Chris, I can't tell you about that. Mostly because it hasn't happened yet. But anyways, so...
gladly welcome all advertisers.
Right. But, I've kind of gotten talking to this girl named Tina, who's involved with I think there's 2 or 3 different cons she's involved with down in Tennessee. Very nice girl. She actually is looking to work with the Toonami Faithful podcast a lot. I'm not going to really go into details, but they really like us. Let's put it that way. But I sent her a message and went, so what do you think about this? She's like, I would never ask anybody to give me money to get a guest, to go out and get guests by using your money. I would never do that. And I especially wouldn't ask, if I was going to ask for money, I would specify what guests we're looking for, kind of thing. So for me, because
there was no real,
right.
At least like a wish list or.
Right,
or,
and
I mean, I guess you don't want to put people on the spot or whatever, but
well, I mean, it's not just that. Like, and other vendors that I talked to when I actually went to RockCon a couple of years ago, the biggest problem with the woman that runs this con is she doesn't run it right. She doesn't do a very good job of running. And, for me, knowing that fact, how do I know that you're going to use this $15K to get huge guests? Okay? Mm-hmm. That's my thing. I know how badly you ran. I don't want to say it's the first RockCon, but it was one of the first. I understand that people can make things up, and maybe she has gotten a little bit better, but, for me, like, if you're going to go out and spend my money, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit there and give you $1,000 or even $15K to be exact for this fund. No, not going to happen. What I'm trying to say is, okay, if you want this $15K, if you want me to give you $20 or even $10, whatever I could give you, I want to know, A, what guests you're getting. Give me a list. Give me a wish list of who you want to get. Mm-hmm. B, if there's access funds, what are you going to do with those access funds? Mm-hmm. C, obviously there's prize packages. Can I see that these people are actually getting these prizes? Because that's the thing, like, we do these Indiegogo's, but even for me, I need to make sure that people are getting what they're getting. And I'm not going to sit there and just, pray to God that, my money's being used for the right faction. No, fuck that, dude. I don't know about you, Chris, but I don't have enough money to even piss in a goddamn toilet sometimes.
Yeah. Because I remember going to Comic-Con. Well, because like I said, the year that we met, and I'm thinking that's the 2013 show because I'm looking at it online right now, and Now, let me just preface that by saying that going to RockCon, I met out of fans, obviously, the people that are into the stuff that people go to conventions for. The people I met there were very, very fun, very, very cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But unfortunately, because you go on message boards, on Facebook pages, and a lot of one of the complaints of both the 2013 and the 2014 show is that both shows were like horribly mismanaged. Going because the 2013 show was at the Main Street Armory, right. Which I think that was the first time I ever went into the Main Street Armory.
Know what? No. It was the 2012 show, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So
okay, wow, Jesus, it's been that long.
Yeah, no. Well, see, like, and it's not even just the mismanagement; it's the fact that so they moved to this new venue, Kodak Theater on the Ridge or Kodak on the Ridge, whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. And I was impressed. I was like, oh, okay, they changed venues. They actually listened to people, and they changed venues to something different. Great, that's awesome. Then all of a sudden, it came out that, oh, well, you're going to have to pay parking on the day. You're going to have to pay for parking on the day. What? Mm-hmm. You're a convention. People are coming to see you. They're not going to put, I don't know how much was parking, probably $5, but I don't think people want to spend whatever it was, like $20, $30 for a ticket, and then spend an additional $5 to park in your parking lot. What the fuck is wrong with you? Mm. Do you see that in New York Comic Con? If you got to park in one of those garages, yeah. Otherwise, people are smart enough to come down, get off of a plane, get on a taxi, and get in a hotel nearby, and then just walk or take the subway.
And take a subway, exactly. When I went to New York Comic Con, it was like it was funny to be on the train and you see people in cosplay, and you see the people obviously there like with fan shirts of superhero T-shirts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And we're all walking from the train station. You see us all getting off at the the 34th Street station or whatever, and walking over the 2 avenues or so to Jacob Javits Center this year.
But even for example in Buffalo, I know for a fact like Saturday and Sundays parking in the city is free. Mm-hmm. No matter where you park, it's free. So for me, for example, why what is it? You know, why can't you just sit there and go, hey, Kodak, you know, can you make parking free?
Mm-hmm.
You're paying all this money to rent the place. You might as well ask them for free parking.
Yeah, especially if it's on a weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to bring it, the less people have to spend, the more people are going to come to your con, period. Mm-hmm. Also, one of my biggest complaints, like, there's supposed to be, like, this con that is basically how do I say this? Like across many universe of nerds.
Yeah, you got anime, you got video games,
right.
You got comic books, you got voice actors, you got it's all over the place, but in a good.
And I mean, you've seen the guests that were at the last RockCon this year. Mm-hmm. They were pretty much heavy sci-fi. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people were attracted to the fact that what's his name, the guy that played Data,
Brent Spiner.
Okay, he was there. Mm-hmm. A lot of people went to RockCon because of that. Mm-hmm. Well, that's all well and good, but on the flip side, there's a lot of people that dress up that are anime fans that go to this con, mm-hmm. you know, and they're looking for anime people. Again, Vic Mignogna, while he is a great guy, and yeah, he's, you know, he did star in Full Metal Alchemist and another range of animes out there.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, Dragon Ball Z too. For me, why do you continuously bring the same guy in every single year unless you can't get anybody else? Okay, that's part of the mismanagement. So here's the thing. Now you're asking for money to get the big names in here. Let me bring up a point, okay? I've gone to TorahCon. I think this is going to be, it's at least been 2 years. Probably number 3 is coming up because I definitely will be going. And I always do a panel there. I never have an issue. These guys are great. They take care of their people. And, okay, granted, they probably, through their anime club at the college, they're probably able to get the money from the college. I get that, okay? But here's the thing. They will never ask anybody that goes to TorahCon for money to get people. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Because they don't need to. Mm-hmm. Same thing with, look at MomoCon. MomoCon down in Atlanta. They started, when I went the first year when Toonami was there, they started with one hotel. It went from one hotel to 2 hotels to now going to the Omni Center, the Omni Hotel at CNN, which is huge, mm-hmm. and having this huge, massive hotel to do a lot more with. They have Steve Bloom going. They have a wide array of guests.
And MomoCon had a heavy lean on anime, correct? Or am I
exactly? Well, because of Toonami. Toonami came there. I know Toonami has said, and they continue to say, well, you know, nobody's really invited us to a different con. I can't really believe that there hasn't been other cons out there that have invited them. I think it's the fact that they haven't been able to do what MomoCon has done. I mean, MomoCon isn't in their backyard. MomoCon has treated them very well 2 years in a row, and they've just done a really good job. And for me, you know, going to Atlanta, it's like a mini vacation for me. Yeah, you know what, it might be only 3 days or whatever, but still, like, I'm being able to, you know, go down to this con and actually see all the people that I, you know, from Toonami that I listen to all the time, like Steve Bloom and Dana Swanson, you know, and the people that are in charge, you know. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's it. That's, you know, it's a great con. And if it wasn't a great con, I wouldn't continue to go down there. I mean, I'm going to be honest, and this is the first time I'm saying this on this podcast, on any podcast for that matter. We're looking into pretty much doing our own, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's going to be Indiegogo, but some kind of fundraising effort to get all of us down there and do a panel for Toonami. Doing a separate Toonami panel, obviously on a day where they're not there, because that would be kind of fucked up. So for me, if there's not a reason, if you're not giving me anything, if you're not giving me guests, you're not telling me, okay, this is what we're going to use the funds that we don't get these guests for these things, then really I'm not going to give you any money. And let's see, let me look at their Indiegogo. It's only been in, I think, a couple days. But right at this second, as we record, mm-hmm. There's 27 days left, and they've only raised $105. There's only 3 funders, and that's about it. You know, it looks like there's a couple shares, like there's 86 shares, 8 tweets, 1 Google Plus share, but really, I don't think anybody's really behind this, you know. And you know, I could be wrong. At the last hour, a lot of people come in and give money and take people over the edge in these fundraisers. But for me, you can justify this all you want. You can sit here and tell me on 50 different posts on this thing, on your Facebook page that, you know, this is, you know, another, like, okay, here's a perfect example, Chris, and you're gonna laugh about this. Another convention in Washington did a quote-unquote raiser successfully, much with the help of happy attendees who wanted to see it grow. Not only did it grow, they did double the amount they were seeking and put on one hell of a show. If they can do it, why can't we? If you haven't read the campaign and seen the perks, that begin at only $10. Take a look. And they give their link. One person liked that. And you know what I really want to comment on and say, okay, what con was that? Again, why are you not mentioning this con? If said con did so well, then why aren't you mentioning this con? Because see, here's the problem. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was called TumblrCon. They were supposed to put on a show, and it just fell apart because they were unorganized, they were mismanaged, and it just pretty much, I don't think they've given their money back, but a lot of people are pissed, and they may be suing that con. There was another con recently, and I can't think of the name of it, but a lot of the guests that came because they didn't want to disappoint their fans. And I don't remember what the guest's name was, but basically there was one guest that they interviewed, that the news interviewed down there, and he said there was something else going. He was doing an appearance somewhere else too at the same time, and they actually paid for everything because they felt so bad for him.
Oh, shit.
You know, let's see what else. What else to say?
Well, I mean, like last year they had Billy West was one of the, but then again, if I remember correctly, because I'm kind of looking at old papers, and they whoever designs the artwork for the show, it's literally like the most horrible cut.
Did you see the website they had, dude?
Yeah, the website was absolute garbage, and it's so embarrassing that you would think that people, if you're organizing an event like this, you would have someone that's a little more, a little more. It would be a little more professional. I mean, it literally looks like an 8-year-old made the flyer.
If you go to RockCon.net right now, and they've actually changed it to ComicConRock.com, which that doesn't make any sense, but all right. Pretty much, they have a better site now. It looks 10 times better. It looks 100 times better than what the fuck they had. So I get it. I understand. But for example, I don't even think they have panels here at this con. They have panels for the guests, as far as I know, but they didn't even do that.
Yeah, I mean, like they had the past 2 years, one of their big gets. It's like, okay, Chris Doohan, which is one of the guy, Scotty's son from Star Trek, I guess, but I think he does like an independent Star Trek web series. The guy that played Shao Kahn in the the Mortal Kombat movies. I remember Marilyn Gigliotti, who played the girlfriend in Clerks. I mean, I understandably, these are all, third-rate performers, but at least, they're at least they have their place. I'm not talking bad about the actors themselves. No, it's just, it's just but that's the level they're talking about. But at the very least, they could give us some sort of a plan. Give us give us, and who knows? I mean, without being too much of an asshole, you could also kind of throw some names out there where even if you don't make, let's just say, you throw a name out there. Let's just say, I don't know. Even if you don't have, I'm just using Brent Spiner, if you say, okay, we want Michael Frakes, the guy who played, Riker on Star Trek. If you kind of mention him a couple of times and say we're trying to get him, who knows? Maybe Michael Frakes may lower his rate, maybe there's a because, New York, upstate New York, doesn't get the love that it deserves. I mean, okay, right now we're 3 feet under snow, it's not exactly
Buffalo, but
not exactly a tourist attraction. But if we can get the right people out here, the people that are already here, because I know they have a lot of local comic book artists, and like I said, the local people, it was fine, and it was all good and everything like that. But it's just 2 years or 3 years, it's just been horribly mismanaged, and they need to get their act together.
And this is one thing that we were talking about off the air too. Here's, and I swear to God, this is Alicia. This has got to be her, the one that's doing it. This is what she says on one of the posts. And this was after, I had been commenting on that one post. I said to her, I said, look, I'm not looking for prices on these guests. I'm just looking for a list of who you're trying to bring in. And she was like, oh, we're not going to do that. It takes the surprise out of it. Not really.
No, not if you're asking for money,
Yeah, exactly. If you're asking for money, then I need to know what's going on. Yeah. So this is what she put on one of these. A little heart to heart from me to all of you. I really had to be talked into doing the Indiegogo campaign. Bullshit. I took 2 months. It took 2 months to convince me that it wasn't begging, since we're going to have a kick-ass show no matter what. Okay, let me stop there. They keep saying throughout this whole thing that they're going to have this kick-ass show whether they make the money or not. Okay, so why do you need the money? You know what I mean? Like, that's just you're kind of contradicting yourself there. But anyways, I'll continue saying.
Well, no, I'm just saying is this, like the fun that I had wasn't because of the stuff they arranged. You know what I'm saying? And they really need to step up. I don't know. If
They
I
need
had
to step up, dude.
If I had the time, I would. We should go there and just take over their offices or wherever they're. Probably just somebody's house.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Like, I've wanted to do a convention here in Rochester for so many years. It's not even funny. I don't even care if it's just with one person. I will do a goddamn kick-ass convention. If anybody wants to help me, if any sponsors up here in Rochester want to help me, I will fucking do one. Give me a year to, put something together, and, I will go from there and do what I need to do. But, to me, again, if I'm going to contribute money to you, why can't you give me information? But let me continue. Let me finish what she said, because it's hilarious. With the campaign, the perks you get for donation make the con experience better. You're the conventioneer, and it helps us put on a better show. If you love RockCon or have a good time at the show during any year, we'd appreciate you helping us make it better. Thanks so much for all. We are going to have a wonderful show no matter what. Okay, again, if you're going to have a show, if you're going to have a kick-ass show, no matter what, why are you asking for money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not going to drag this on any longer, but look, if you're a convention and you want money from somebody or from multiple people, maybe be more specific about what you're trying to do and what happens if you have money left over. Because this is a pure example of somebody being vague and somebody pretty much, in my view, taking advantage of people in Rochester and expecting them. Basically, what really pisses me off is they expect people to give them money to put on the best show possible, and if not, we're not going to have a good show.
Yeah, blindly.
The
whole. I mean, when you run an Indiegogo, I mean, you're doing like what a lot of people call, it's a pitch meeting. A lot of people, like when people organize TV shows and movies and stuff like that, you have to organize a pitch. You have to get together and go, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I have planned. This is what I would like. Here's here's a wish list. You're kind of you're setting out, and I've seen other Indiegogos, even like when we did the Indiegogo for when I helped out trying to do the Indiegogo for BentCon. I mean, their stuff was clearly organized. They had exactly what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it, the guests they wanted to have, the people the guests that they had in the past that were good and they wanted to come back, the events they wanted to organize. I mean, that was, and don't be wrong, I mean, it was almost overwhelmingly thorough. But that's a good thing to have. If you're going to organize something, you need to be organized, and it was easy to see, to give money to someone that gives you a nice solid business plan, or at least at least act like you fucking know what you're doing. Say fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
And it's just, it blows my mind how disorganized they could be and then ask for money at the same time.
Also, the fact that they never changed the date of when the con is. Why not move it? Like, move it to a different day where it's not conflicting with other events. Because if I've noticed this, and I don't know if you have, Chris, but there's been other bigger events on that weekend that is on RockCon. So why not make the smart decision to go, maybe put it on a different weekend where people will actually be, available.
Yeah, because I think they had it, I forgot, what was it, the Park Avenue Fest or the East Avenue Fest? Well,
I can't think of what it's called, but there's like this fest that takes over like a couple weekends.
Yeah, either way, it's like they put it on the same weekend as like a fest that has been traditional in Rochester. For the locals, the people that are actually going to show up, and for the people, I mean, it would be nice if people drove from Buffalo or Syracuse or other parts of New York State, or even from Canada. But the locals, the people the people who have kind of like that last minute, like throwaway money, like I'm going to go. You're putting it on a weekend where hosting it in September. I mean, up here we get that cold weather real quick. So the outside festivals, they're taking a gamble by having it so late and in the year. But that's the whole thing, is that, like, these are also traditional things. I mean, some people go, it's one of those deals where street fairs people go to every year. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of like, you organize your schedule around it. Like, you think, oh yeah, okay, it's September. It's time for, the such and such fest. I mean, with me, it was the San Gennaro's Fest in New York City. That was always like the second week in September. So like every school year, you kind of had that, oh, that's right, it's September, it's time for this fest, and so, you're going to compete with stuff that's been traditionally handled years and years and years and years and has a following and has, a reliable expected turnout. Maybe you should rethink, pushing it a little earlier into the year. You know what I'm saying? What's wrong with...
All I'm saying is like you get all these... TourCon is a perfect example. You have a con that is proven, that gets guests every single year from Funimation, and they sell out every single fucking year. When you have a fan following like that, why do you need money? What you're saying by doing this, basically, and if she listens to this podcast, Alicia, what you're basically saying is you're basically saying to people, I want you to fund my con. Sorry, that doesn't work. Either you have the money by the sponsors that you make, or don't do the con. Period. Go get the guests by yourself. Do something for the people so they know that you deserve this con. Because I know a lot of people out there know how mismanaged you are with these cons. And that's the reason why I haven't been back. So I haven't been back at all, because I don't want to waste my time on a con that's mismanaged. I don't want to waste my time on a con where I can't have my own panel. I love doing panels, and that's why I continue to go to TourCon every year, because they are such great staff. They do such great things. And for me, if a con's going to help me, I'm going to continue to promote them. And I'm going to do it for free. RockCon, I'm not promoting you right now. I'm fucking telling you to get your shit together, or I'm going to tell people not to go to your con.
Yeah, and that's, and you would think us as locals would.
Dude, me and you are comic book fans, man. I would love to continue to go to RockCon every year, but I guarantee you, if me and you walked up, it's like what happened, that situation that we had in Syracuse. If we were to call up her and be like, I just want to get in free, and like one of their confirmed guests is Todd Hapricorn, I believe his name is. Yeah, and he does a lot of voices for Funimation shows. He's been on probably a couple of Toonami shows, if I'm correct. And for me, yeah, I want to interview him, but I guarantee you we're going to have to buy tickets. And I'm not going to sit there and go and buy these tickets just to interview one person and leave. Because that's what's going to happen. Pretty much this is what's going to happen. If I stay, I'm going to go through the vendor room, see if there's anything I want, and then leave. But that's it. And if she says something to me, I'm going to look at her and be like, well, too bad. That's what we came to do. Peace out. Yeah. So just cons, get your shit together.
Get your shit together, cons. And I think with that, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more dick and fart jokes.
Let's make out, Chris.
This episode of Two Strangers, One Podcast is brought to you by Comics Etc., 1115 East Main and North Goodman at the Hungerford Building, door number 8. Find out more information at comicsetc.biz or like them on Facebook at facebook.com/comicsetc1.
Click and Hit, enhancing the experience for all recreational smokers. Click and Hit is a one-handed portable vaporizer. This smoking pipe has a compact 4-stage design, complete with a built-in, windproof, butane refillable torch lighter. The large burn chamber holds your stash of legal herb or pipe tobacco. Click the button to ignite and inhale as usual. When you are done, put it back in your pocket for later. Smoke anytime with the touch of a button. No more carrying around grinders and tins. You can leave the pipe, rolling papers, and even your lighter at home. The Click and Hit cordless vaporizer is no bigger than a normal cigar, making it the world's smallest and most discreet vaporizer. It's perfect for use in small places or shared rooms. It's efficient, getting 5 to 8 draws from your packed chamber. It's affordable at just $19.95 each. Buy 3 and the shipping is free. Buy 4 and you get the 5th one free. Visit www.click-hit.com. That's clickandhit.com. And now for listeners of Two Strangers, One Podcast, you can use promo code STRANGERS and receive 10% off your purchase at clickandhit.com. That's promo code STRANGERS for 10% off your purchase.
And we're back.
Don't be jealous, Darrell.
Well, okay,
So you had something happen.
So yeah, we spent the first half an hour pissing and moaning. Let's go to the lighter side of things. Of course, and I've been like really excited about talking about this.
Something else I'm going to talk about too, but I'll do that after you're done.
Okay. Well, also, a couple things. One, I want to thank Sketch for being on the last episode since you were so busy. But what I did was I had taken the audio for those who listen to the show. I mean, obviously, if you listen to the show, you've heard it. But Sketch and I put out a video where Sketch and we watched the Too Many Cooks video, the Adult Swim Too Many Cooks video, and I kind of ran it. It was kind of doing like a director's commentary kind of a deal, but with us kind of just talking about
Too many cooks.
So it was kind of not director's commentary, but just a running commentary on what's going on. And I had named the video "Too Many Cooks Explained," which I guess for some reason the trolls on the internet, people have no fucking creativity. Kind of like, what do you mean explain? You're not explaining anything. Yeah, we're telling you what the references are, because the original video, unfortunately, they're like younger people who are watching that video and don't get some of the jokes because they're too fucking young to get the jokes. So we're kind of like, we're breaking it down for those people. And plus, I think it's just fun to have someone sit there and really it'd be something you'd be doing with your friends, or like, oh yeah, okay, here's the joke about Wonder Woman, here's a joke about Full House, here's a joke about Alf. So you could go on YouTube and look up Too Many Cooks Explained. That was from last episode, and it would really help if you shared it with your friends, because it's also I'm not going to lie here, I kind of did that video to kind of just be an advertisement for the podcasts. And then also the last episode, Sketch and I was discussing to Sketch about part of my trip going down to New York City was that I had a trunk that my mom wanted me to get rid of, that I left behind at my mom's house years ago, and what I thought was in it wasn't what was in it. But I think it's a pretty funny video. It's kind of embarrassing on what I actually discovered was in there. So once again, if you want to look up What's in the Trunk. And it's I don't want to spoil it on the show, because if you haven't seen it, I would like for you to go and check it out. And once again, if you like the show, share it on your Facebook page or whatever the case may be. Okay, so as we discussed a couple episodes back, I went down to New York City Comic Con and was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, where Matt, one of the contributors to the Tsunami Faithful podcast, and I were asked. Originally, we were asked just to be in the background of this sketch. It was I had no idea I literally had no idea what it was or what was going on until I actually walked into the area, because this was right after, and we had just suffered the crushing blow of not getting the interview that we had wanted to get, even though it was agreed on email on the interview we're supposed to get. But
we still haven't gotten that interview.
But that's a whole other story. But so Matt and I had just suffered a crushing blow of not getting the interview that we were promised. So we're just we were kind of getting our things organized, but in the same area where there were people were giving the celebrities were doing autographs. It was a production assistant came out to us and said, would you like to be part of a sketch, be in the background? And I said, oh yeah, absolutely, sure. I'm a ham. I love, just to see my face on TV for 3 seconds, I'll be more than happy to do that. So it turns out it was a sketch for they still haven't given the official name, but I think they're leaning towards the Jack and Triumph show. Everything, all the documentation, and even in the studio, the Jack and Triumph show, it's Jack McBrayer from 30 Rock. He was the voice of Fix It Felix. I think he's also on a kids show called Wander, some shit like that. Or whatever. I mean, he kind of has that real, and he's a real nice guy. I mean, that's part of his whole gimmick. That's part of his whole shtick. Is that he looks like a freaking Midwestern country bumpkin. But I mean, he is generally a very, very nice guy. Jack McBrayer and Triumph Insult Comic Dog. Now in this particular show, Jack is playing. He's not. I forgot he played like Jack Konecki or some shit like that. He's not playing himself, but he's playing a character named Jack. And him and Triumph were on according to the show, they were on an 80s show that was very similar to Lassie, where he's the kid, Triumph is the dog. And Hollywood, the way Hollywood treats child actors. I mean, he becomes, he goes through the whole ringer of all the stuff that child actors go through, and drugs and partying and living a pretty crazy life. And what happens is, he kind of flushes his whole life down the toilet. And so, it's supposed to be now, 2014, where Triumph and him find each other, and they kind of Triumph is trying to also bring Jack back to his glory days, to his roots. But back in the day, in the 80s, Triumph was he was part of the bad influence that got Jack in trouble in the first place. So, him being back in Jack's life is not the greatest idea in the world. And so, filming that sketch, and I kind of, and I've spoiled it before or whatever. The scene ends up with me with my shirt off and Jack McBrayer rubbing lotion on my back, which is, it's pretty funny because I'm a big fat guy and I'm hairy, but I got a shaved head and a fucking biker goatee. So it's visually it's pretty funny, especially that, he looks so innocent. And then, and we actually got a chance to see the video, and he looks pretty like he's disturbed. Obviously he doesn't want to do it. And during the sketch, when we filmed it, he was very, very, funny. He was very, very humble about it. I was not teasing him, but I was just like, I never thought when I woke up this morning I'd have Jack McBrayer rubbing lotion on my back. And I could take this off my bucket list. So, luckily enough, or oddly enough, and when you record on something like that, you have to sign a waiver and all this other stuff, because you're kind of like giving them the rights for them to use your face and your image.
Your ugly fat body and your
hey. It's the moneymaker. I mean, this thing, my fat body got me a couple bucks. So what had happened was, so they go and they call me up, and actually, part of the contract that you sign is, you give them your contact information. So they had contacted me, and they said, would you like to come down and be part of a filming? Or they said, or at the very least, you can, they said, look, and when you see how this show is actually written, I mean, they have a bunch of writers, and things were literally being changed at the last minute. And that's just, it's one of those shows where, the guy who runs it, Robert Smigel, the guy who plays Triumph the Incel Comic Dog, this is a guy who worked with Louis C.K. when Louis C.K. was nothing. This was a guy who worked with Conan O'Brien when Conan O'Brien was nothing. Back when the early days of the Conan O'Brien show, Louis C.K., Robert Smigel, and of course, obviously Conan O'Brien. I mean, these were guys that, they were all friends when none of them were famous. Back when people were like, who the fuck is Conan O'Brien? And of course here we are, fast forward a couple years later, and, Robert Smigel, who does have, don't get me wrong, he does have, his influences, but he's kind of like the one, he hasn't hit the heights as Conan O'Brien or Louis C.K., but hopefully with a show like this, it'll get his name a little bit more known. I mean, I don't think people realize that, when you watch those Saturday Night Live sketches, like the TV's Funhouse, and Big USA Gay Duo, that's all Robert Smigel's work. And actually, he also, I happened to come across this totally by accident, the most recent movie, one of his most recent movies. He wrote Hotel Transylvania, and he told me that they already finished, and they're because it's all CGI. That by next year September they will have Hotel Transylvania Part 2. So and this was, and that's from the source. Basically they called us to record, to go down to the studio and record, and they asked if I wanted to be part of it, but they said, right now things are constantly changing, so we don't know if we're going to use you or not, so if you want to come down. And I was like, absolutely. So I jumped on this thing called the Mega Bus, which is for $35 from Rochester to New York City. And it was funny because Paul was there, and because from my house to really honestly from my house to the Mega Bus stop was only 2 miles, but I didn't want to take the bus, and I'm carrying a couple overnight bags, one big overnight bag and my book bag and stuff. So luckily Paul came, my hero, came and rescued me in his fiance's car, because I guess what happened? Your car got a nail in it or something like that.
Yeah, I was driving around, and all of a sudden I'm hearing this click, 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 and I'm like, okay. So I stopped. So when we stopped at Wegmans, I'm like, oh, look, there's a screw in my tire. Great.
So you guys came and picked me up. Now the funny thing was that I don't know what I'm getting into. I mean, I'm thinking $35 for a bus into for a 6-hour drive. It's probably going to be real shitty. Surprisingly, I was very, very surprised. The Megabus was a lot cleaner and a lot more organized than I thought it was. Not organized. I mean, that's probably not the word I want to use, but it was a lot cleaner and more hospitable than I thought it was going to be. But I'll get to that in a second. So, I'm getting ready for this long trip, and I had no idea if there's even like a bathroom on the bus. It turns out there was. I didn't have to use it, but your fiance, she happened. For some reason, we came up to like whether there was a bathroom on the bus or not, and I was like, oh man, I should have brought some toilet paper with me just in case. She had given me like a fresh pack of like the facial towels like you use like to blow your nose and stuff like that, like sort of like a just in case kind of a deal, like just in case you need it. here's a pack of tissues.
She's awesome.
Which I put in my jacket and held on. Hopefully, thank God I didn't need it. So you took the bus. Now it was the Megabus. It's pretty cool. It's a duplex bus. I mean, it's one of those deals where I'm assuming the two times that I going down to New York City and coming back. I mean, it was a relatively new bus. It had Wi-Fi on it. You had a plug under your seat if you wanted to plug in your phone. The ride was surprisingly smooth, except for like when you're making the stops, like when you're on the highway and you're going and things are going smooth. You're on the bus and I fell asleep. Like luckily, I guess maybe I was so excited that I didn't get much sleep anyway. So being on the bus itself, like it rocked me to sleep like a baby. I mean, I fell asleep on the bus. Luckily, it wasn't packed enough where I didn't have no one sat next to me because the seats were kind of small. I mean, I'm a big guy anyway. So we're going down the bus, and on our way down there, I guess there was, once again, it's not the bus's fault. I guess, we were traveling with this older woman who I guess couldn't wait for us to make the next stop before she started smoking a cigarette, because I guess apparently she went into the bathroom of the Megabus and started smoking a cigarette. So the bus driver made an announcement on the intercom, and this was a older, larger ghetto woman, and she started such a fucking scene in the bus because she was caught dead to rights. She was smoking. He smelled it. She shouldn't have been smoking because she was on the bus. I don't know where she was coming from, but like when the bus stopped to pick us up, she was the first person out the door because she couldn't wait to have a cigarette. So when he said and mind you, this is over the loudspeaker, and everyone's kind of like sleeping. It's kind of like dark on the bus. Everyone's kind of just, hey, I'm not fucking smoking. Why do you, and like, I think it's somebody upstairs. And like, she comes upstairs. Who the fuck is smoking up here? Like, and of course it's nobody's fault except the fact that it's an inexpensive bus. And I guess, you're going to get ghetto people on a fucking inexpensive bus. But, and she had made a big fucking to do over nothing. Just admit that you were smoking, or or at least like, okay, you got it caught and just shut the fuck up and go sit down. So going down, that was kind of a, but everyone, it was all like, really, I mean, besides that one woman, I mean, everyone on the bus was pretty cool and chilled out, and everyone kind of like, like, I mean, there were like some kids that kind of like giggling, and one kid was like playing with like an iPad that kind of had game noises, but like I said, that has nothing to do with the bus itself. So we get down to New York City, and once again, I was taking the bus, so I didn't have to bring my car. That's a whole other issue. I'm having issues with my car, but I'll leave that alone. So we get to the studio. Now this is, the next day, whatever, because the filming was supposed to start on Thursday, but they pushed it back to Friday. So I said, all right, and I kind of called my boss, and I'm like, look, I need another day. I need another day off. So we go, and now they were filming it in the Hotel Pennsylvania in one of their ballrooms. So, you get off the bus, you get off the train, and because luckily, I'm lucky enough where my mom lives in downtown Manhattan, so, I don't have to pay for a hotel room or anything like that, mom's chef service, which was always nice, mom likes to cook and I like to eat, so that's a good combination. So, you get off in the Hotel Pennsylvania, and this is 34th Street. This is 34th Street and 7th Avenue. I mean, this is like the heart of Midtown Manhattan. I mean, in all its touristy goodness. You go into this hotel, and I mean, in Hotel Pennsylvania, the hotel is falling apart. Let's be real here. But I wasn't there to spend the night in the room. I was there to go and record. So we go, and it's so Matt didn't get there yet because Matt wasn't scheduled to get there until a little later. So I get there at 1, and they go, oh, and you go to the offices, and of course, the security, and have to ask you for your ID and all this other shit. So I go, and then and I'm over here thinking I'm just gonna have this small part or whatever, I'm just gonna be in the background. But they had a part written for me. They had a part called Poker Buddy. So I go, and they actually gave me a fucking dressing room. It was the oddest fucking thing in the world. So because they wanted me to match what I was wearing at the Comic-Con part. Unfortunately, I guess being in studio, long story short, they were teasing back and forth whether I was going to wear the shirt or not. And I guess ultimately they decided against it only because I have copywritten tattoos. I have tattoos on me the tattoos on me. I have a Batman logo, and I have, Metallica album covers. And I guess, the people on the staff were hip, and they realized that, because they said it, they were like, oh, you have album covers on your arm. And and it was a girl that pointed it out. She goes, yeah, you have a Metallica album cover on your tattoo. And I was, she's like, we really can't use that because that's copywritten, and, we don't want to get in trouble. Because it was so funny when you get on a stage, because there's a lot of things that when you see it, where if they wanted to use it, if they didn't want to use it, because one of the other people on the show, and I'll get to that in a second, but one of the people was Tay Zonday, and Tay Zonday is the guy most famously known for singing Chocolate Rain. Chocolate Rain. So he had this award called the Webby, which is given out for people who make YouTube videos and stuff like that. And he had won a Webby award, and they were going through they had to get it cleared if they were going to use it. They ended up ultimately they didn't use it, but they were going to and it's so funny I guess when you you realize when you're on TV that everything is so legal stuff is such a fucking pain in the balls that he couldn't even use his Webby award. And really, I mean, the Webby is a fucking internet thing. It's not even on TV. There's no real precedent, but I guess they opted not to use it just because it probably, just to avoid any legal troubles. So they ended up ultimately not letting me take my shirt off because my tattoos. So I was kind of I thought that was going to be the gag, me there playing poker without my shirt on. But like I said, they kind of went against it. So I'm sitting at a table, and I don't think it's really spoiling it because anybody who's been on my Facebook page knows that I'm sitting at a table with, it's me, Tay Zonday, like I said before. So, you got Chocolate Rain, Tony Little, the guy who sells the late night fitness guru, the guy who sells, I think it's called the Gazelle. It's kind of the thing, it looks like cross country skiing where you're you put your feet in the pedals and then your hands go on the handlebars in front of you. So it kind of looks like you're doing the cross country skiing, your hands going back and forth, your legs going back and forth. Jack McBrayer and Triumph. So this is it's a fucking surreal dream that here's all these people that are celebrities and I'm sitting at the poker table with them. So it was pretty fucking funny. In that particular scene of the Poker Buddy scene, Jack comes out and he gives us beer, and which I guess they used real beer because in between when they weren't shooting, I smelled the glass. I'm this is real beer. I guess since I wasn't drinking it, because I know they have I think that's one of those funky rules where as long as you don't drink it on camera, because I think if you do drink it, it can't be real beer. I think all those years on Cheers, they never used real beer. They always use non-alcoholic. So that sketch, so it was just so odd. And then later on, when Matt got there, and then right next to my dressing room, and I'm over here, and when you're recording, when you're on the set and stuff like that, you can move around, but you can't move around. If you move around, they keep, every time they see, because I was kind of sneaking around the studio. I wanted to see if I could, get pictures and stuff like that. And everyone's they're very polite. They're oh, maybe you should, they kind of maybe you should go back to your dressing room. So, because I had walked up on stage when they were kind of setting up this other scene with Michael Winslow, which later on, that's the scene that Matt is in. And so they were and the girl saw me standing there or whatever, the person, the assistant director that was kind of my liaison, and it was so funny how nicely, she put it nicely, but you could tell there was kind of get your ass back to get your ass back to your dressing room, So, well, apparently they had earlier, before I got there, Joey Fatone was there. Because when you see later on when you watch the video, and I don't think I'm really spoiling too much, but I replaced Joey Fatone. Joey Fatone was their poker buddy back in the day, And then in the scene that they do, then it's me. But I don't know if they're going to use that scene because, like I said, Matt was part of like this background scene for the Michael Winslow sketch. And, you know, the joke of the sketch is that it's Michael Winslow down on hard times. You know, he's playing Michael Winslow. You know, he's playing himself, or, you know, he hasn't been in a movie in years. So now he's selling like furniture. But like what he's doing is he's playing it off that like the furniture that he's selling is props from movies, when it's obviously not. Like, because when, you know, in the scene it's like, oh, look at this couch from Spaceballs. Like, there's no fucking couch in Spaceballs, you know. And in the scene he's trying to sell me a bowl, and it's and he's claiming that the bowl is from the Police Academy movies. So and let me tell you, Michael Winslow was such a nice, everybody there was such a nice guy. You know, Michael Winslow, because, you know, we're kind of like, him and I kind of have to riff back and forth, you know, and he's showing me the bowl and he's holding it up like a mirror, and I'm like checking myself in the mirror, and then he pulls out this, you know, there's a potted plant there, and he holds out the potted plant to my crotch, like, like, you know, he was such a nice guy, and but I mean, genuinely, like, the character that you see, like, you know, people looking, oh, he's crazy. He's in the best way possible, and I mean this in the best way. He is fucking crazy. He is that nuts. All the stuff, like, you know, the stuff that comes off the top of his head is 100% like how he is. Or at least, I mean, look, maybe he was just on, you know, some people, like, you're in the zone or whatever, because he was cracking me up. He was so funny. And I mean, even backstage, you know, because there was a time where, because they do two filmings. There was a filming at 4 o'clock and a filming at 8 o'clock. So we were at between the 8 o'clock filming and the 4 o'clock filming, you know, everyone goes to lunch or whatever. So we're online, you know, because they had, you know, craft services serving food and stuff like that. So we're online. So a woman basically gets in my way, and I'm kind of standing next to Michael Winslow. So the way she's standing, I start, because I was walking and the woman kind of just stopped. So I kind of, the way I kind of landed on my foot, I kept moving like I was dancing or whatever. So I made him laugh because I was kind of like, you know, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of did it just because I knew he was watching or whatever. So, I mean, he was a very, very fun guy, very, very cool to be around. And actually, Tay Zonde, you know, I had the balls. I said, fuck it. I left my dressing room, and I said, fuck it. I'm just going to start knocking on people's doors because I want to talk to, you know, I wanted to talk to Tony Little. And Tony Little was very, very cool. It's just, he has a line in the show that, like, Tony Little is known for just doing, like, you know, he's known for his late night infomercials. They had him, the line that they gave him, he just could not get fucking right. He had one. I mean, the other parts, his other lines, like his lesser lines, were kind of just, his shorter lines he got on point. Then he had one long kind of thing he had to say, and the guy just couldn't. I mean, fucking 10 times he couldn't fucking get it right. And not, you know, like I said, he's not an actor. He's a fitness guy. He sells fitness equipment. You know, when he does, I'm pretty sure when he's doing whatever he's doing, you know, he's doing stuff that, like, it's a script that he worked on. When other people are putting voices and words in his mouth, he had a little trouble getting it down. So he was kind of hung up on getting his words right. I mean, even from like the 4 o'clock filming all the way to the fucking 8 o'clock filming, he was sweating it. So I didn't want to stress him out. But let me tell you, Tay Zonde, I said, fuck it. I'm just going to go knock on his door and just if anything, get a picture with him, see if I can. Him and I had like literally an hour-long conversation. And he's talking about, you know, how he grew up in Chicago and, you know, up here in Rochester, you know, like us being buried in snow, like we had the whole, you know, he knows the effect, the term lake effect, where, you know, the lakes, you know, we get much more colder weather than we're supposed to because, you know, the way the air runs off the lake and just freezes the shit out of us. You know, because I was talking to him about my daughter, and, you know, he's an uncle, you know, you know, he has nieces and nephews, and, you know, they're aware of his internet stardom, and he was and don't get me wrong, I mean, he was a bit of, I want to say, introverted. You know, it's funny, a guy who makes videos that are kind of like, you know, big and blown up. I mean, he was very reserved and stuff like that, and you could tell, like, if I mentioned anything that, like, he may not have known about, because he had like his phone in his hand, and so, like, if I mentioned, like, for some, we got into the conversation about voice acting. And so I had mentioned Patrick Warburton, you know, the guy who played Putty on Seinfeld and the voice of, the character, you know, he's on Family Guy, and he was Kronk and, you know, The Emperor's New Groove, whatever. You know, I guess at the time, he didn't, I guess off the top of his head, he didn't know who Patrick Warburton was. So, like, while I'm talking to him and we're talking about Patrick Bergman, he pulls out his phone because he wants to see, like his phone was glued to his hip, and like every time I kind of mention something that he might not have knew or didn't know off the top of his head, like you could tell he's very he's very tech savvy, so talking to him, I mean, he was such a good guy. He was so cool. I mean, I don't know other than to say, like, go to his YouTube channel, subscribe or whatever, because I mean he does monetization of that, and I had asked him if he wanted to come on the podcast, Paul. No, I didn't, but he said he gets asked to be on a lot of podcasts, and he feels that he doesn't have much to contribute, and I was like, dude, I just sat here and talked to you for like 45 minutes. I said, if I'd record this would have been a podcast, But he was so fucking cool, and like I said, Michael Winslow's cool. Tony Little was cool. Even Robert Smigel, who was, for all intents and purposes, he wasn't like the director of the show. There was another guy who had like the official, but obviously he's the executive producer, and like, he was calling a lot of the shots. So I mean, he's directing an episode. He got his own lines to remember. He had a lot on his mind. But even like when I spoke to him just for like a couple minutes, like I said, like, dude, I really liked Hotel Transylvania. He was telling me, that he has, because that they're, for them to do a show that they're doing it in New York, and this is, and I don't know if, I guess people, this is not, this is kind of relatively publicly known information. Like his daughter has autism. So like, like he had wanted to do the show. Well, I mean, people traditionally would have thought he was going to do the show in California, but he wanted to be close to his family and his daughter and stuff like that. Cause when he does the little sketches here and there, that's one thing, but for him to do a long-term project like a show, he wanted to be in New York. And I mean, such a nice guy, such a humble guy. And it's funny. And then everyone on the set, everyone's dressed up and everyone has makeup and all that. Since he's playing Triumph, he doesn't have to be dressed up. So he's there in like, beat up pants and a black t-shirt. And yeah, traditionally I've seen him, and I've seen this in other pictures where he's wearing like a hat. It's like a hat without a brim on it. Like it's a cap or whatever. It's weird to describe. And then since his hand is, since you're under all these hot lights and everything like that, he has like a special like Lycra glove that he puts his hand. But then like he took the glove off, and obviously if your hand's going to be in a fucking puppet all day, I mean, his hand was just coated in fucking, talcum powder and stuff like that. Jack McBrayer, like even after the scenes we did together, like, he had the microphone. He was like, and he was introducing everybody, but he kind of gave me my own. He goes, "What's your name?" I said, "Chris." He goes, "No, what's your full name?" I said, "Chris Cologne." "Oh, Chris Cologne, everybody." And it just, everybody on the set. And there were two more there was another actress, I forgot her name, but the joke is that she's sort of like the Aunt May. She's kind of like the older character. Like she's been in other TV shows where she plays a very matronly, motherly character, and in this show, like, she's surrounded by all this craziness, and sometimes she curses, and that's because the thing about the show is that they curse. Not that the ending is going to be, obviously, and they're going to edit out the curses, but just bleep it over. But like when they're on set, she's saying fucking shit, but the joke is that she's like a mommy character. And there was another actress. She's on MTV's Girl Code. I've never seen the show before. Very, very, very attractive Asian actress. And she's on it also. And she was kind of like, she was in the back with us. Like, even, like I said, when I was with Tezande, because we were kind of standing off to the side watching them film, and they had made a joke about how bad the Hotel Pennsylvania was. And once again, Tezande goes, he breaks out his cell phone, he starts looking at Yelp, and he's showing me all these Yelp reviews of how bad the Hotel Pennsylvania is. And him and I were just cracking up. Once again, such a fucking cool guy. So I forgot the name of the actress, but she's on Girl Code, and she's on the show. I don't know if she's going to be a reoccurring character, but she plays, because the matronly woman, her name is June on the show, so she plays like June's like home attendant, assistant, or whatever. And and then also, the scene that Matt filmed, and they had other people there that were genuinely people from Comic-Con, because I remember some of the people from the sketch. When they filmed the 8 o'clock show, one of the guys, when they filmed the 4 o'clock show, there was one guy talking to Michael Winslow. So when they filmed the 8 o'clock show, they stuck him in the poker buddy scene, and then they put me with Michael Winslow. So I think they're going to go with that one. I don't think I'm going to be in the poker buddy scene, but I'd rather be interacting with Michael Winslow, because I think I get a little more screen time.
Well, when are they supposed to bring that out?
It's supposed to be coming out in January, if I understand it correctly.
And where is it going to be shown?
It's going to be shown on Adult Swim. So, and then with that being said, even though this was the 4th episode they were filming, this was the pilot. This is the show that's gonna, the episode that we recorded was gonna be the first episode, because it's sort of it's telling the whole story on how they all met and stuff like that. Not how they met, but how they re-met, because they get separated for 20 years, whatever. So I mean, it was so much fun. Everybody on set was so cool. I mean, of course, my fat ass was at craft services. I was eating all day. I was eating like a fucking pig.
Did they say they were going to have you back for more episodes? Or
they haven't said it yet, but I mean, like I said, the writers were literally writing to the last minute, even to the point where, like, I guess they wanted me with Michael Winslow because the other guy, even though the guy they had with Michael Winslow had no fucking charisma. Not to toot my own horn. So, then, like I said, Matt's in the scene, but Matt is kind of, Matt's not interacting. They needed people who look like they went to Comic-Con to kind of like look like they're part of the whole garage sale that Michael Winslow's having. And I know Matt had a good time. I mean, he seems a bit like, and trust me, I was trying to like talk him up. We were talking to like the assistant director and all this other stuff. I'm putting my hand around his shoulders. This guy's looking for a job in production, people. You know what I'm saying? I know Matt could be a little awkward in social situations. So, I was trying to speak up on him. Like, hey, this guy's looking for a job and stuff like that. But, I mean, him and I, we had a fucking blast. We really did. And then like, cause Matt, where they had the extras and Matt was in the room with other people, and like the people from Comic-Con were genuinely good people. Then there were like 3 people there that were like professional extras, like people who were like, the guy, and these are fucking people. They're all full of shit. The girl was like, she was Miss New Jersey at one point. I have to look it up. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that were there kind of like professionally. Obviously the Comic-Con people, we were so fucking nerdied out and geeked out that everyone there was fun. And don't be wrong, the people that were professional extras, I mean, they were fun too, but like, you're just like, shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wanted to smack them in the face. It was very, I mean, they were kind of irritating, but the people from Comic-Con themselves, one of the guys, what's the name of one of the guys who works on the internet, Mashable. He works on Mashable.com, and like I said, the genuine nerds there were fucking pretty cool. I mean, I didn't spend time in my dressing room. I didn't want to be all by myself. I didn't want to be alone or whatever. So, I hung out with Matt in his dress, all the extras dressing room, hanging out in craft services, kind of sneak up on stage, and then, then they said, and I get this, when they were actually filming, they said, we want you in your dressing room. And I get that, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they're trying to get things organized, they're not going to spend the time, because the whole background was a fucking maze. It was very easily to get lost. So when they were actually filming, when they were filming the 4 o'clock show, they were like, we would like you to stay in your dressing room, because if we need you, we need you, So that, but it's, you're in the dressing room and you just hear, because they have an audience come in. And, people are just, I mean, the show is really, really funny. I mean, where my dressing room was, I was literally a level up from the recording studio. And like the people were laughing so hard, like I could clearly hear them in my dressing room. So it was such a fucking awesome experience. And if they want to have me back, I am fucking so there. I'll be there in a fucking heartbeat. I'll jump on the megabus again if I have to.
And if we do, we'll have to be there. Or try.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had, because they said, but the guy that was trying to set it up, he basically told me, he's like, look, worst case scenario, you can have VIP tickets. So, you go, how many tickets do you want? It's like me plus 2. So I said, yeah, that would be, me, Matt, and you. But
well, unfortunately, I have to make money. So
yeah, you and your making money.
Anyway.
So like I said, I mean, keep an eye out for it, and definitely check out the show, because I think people who like this show, and even people who like the Tsunami Faithful podcast, it's definitely up their alley. I mean, there's a lot of nerd jokes, a lot of, it was really, really, really funny. Everyone who worked on it was so cool. I really hope this becomes a thing. Like, I hope this isn't like a one and done, like, one shot deal and it's one season. I hope this thing turns out to be, I mean, and with the Adult Swim shows, I mean, I can't see how the show doesn't go one or two, at least 2 or 3 seasons, where, but it was, I mean, I'm assuming, it doesn't, it's not like they're not spending a lot of money. I mean, and that's part of the joke is that when they were in Hotel Pennsylvania, if they were going to film in New York, which is, I guess, technically a little more expensive than filming in California, I guess since everybody wants to be in show business, things are just cheaper out there. But I think for filming in New York City, it's as cheap as you're going to get. That's the vibe I got. So, for them, so hopefully that's a show where it's relatively inexpensive to make, and like I said, it's one of those deals where the writers keep writing. They filmed a lot. They filmed way more than what the half an hour needed because, then they can pick and choose and keep the funnier jokes in, so hopefully if they're going to, if they want to have another gag with me there or whatever, I'm there, dude. I am so fucking there. And like I said, everyone was cool to work with. I vibed, I'm saying, I think, I think I put out a good impression,
Right. Well, hopefully they do have you more. That would be awesome.
That would be, and then plus, I mean, just the fact that this is because there aren't really. I mean, I know Adult Swim has had its live action shows, but this is the first one because the parts that they were filming in the studio, it's supposed to be like a sitcom. It's kind of riffing on the sitcom. It's not a sitcom because it's not like cheesy and corny. I mean, there's a lot of adult humor and cursing and stuff like that. But, so they have, it's kind of like this weird balance between, they have the man on the street stuff, which is what Triumph is known for, and then they have the in-studio sitcom-y stuff. So it's a unique show. And of course, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased because I'm on it, but, I hope that, I hope the show does well. And if they call me back, I would like I said, I'd be there in a fucking heartbeat. So I think with that, we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
That's what she said. So once again, check out the videos on YouTube. Too Many Cooks Explained, What's in the Trunk. And also you can check out twostrangersonePodcast.net where you can find links for everything show related. You can find my... what was I saying? You can find links to us on iTunes. If you have an iPhone, iPad, iPod, and you will subscribe to us on iTunes, you can do so. Just go to the podcast tab in your iTunes store. And they recently changed iTunes, and it's a little, the graphic user interface is a little different. I had to reacquaint myself on how iTunes works. Only because it's not that I don't use iTunes. I get my podcasts off of Stitcher. But I mean, iTunes is still the big fucking mamma jamma that it is. So check us out on iTunes. And the one cool thing about iTunes is you actually go back and listen to podcasts from 2.5 years ago if you chose to do so. If you don't have an iPhone, iPad, iPod, you can find us on the Stitcher app. That's STITCHER, STITCHER, the Stitcher app. And the Stitcher app is pretty much, I mean, I'm not going to lie, that's how I listen to podcasts. So that's why I'm not too familiar with iTunes. Any podcast worth listening to, Chris Hardwick's The Nerdist, Kevin Smith's Modcast, This American Life, Adam Carolla, Mark Maron, and of course the Toonami Faithful podcast you can find on the Stitcher app. Now, I recently, I have to add this into the mix. Podomatic, our hosting site, I believe has put out an Android app also. It might be on iTunes. It might be on iTunes also. It might be an Apple app, which I'm pretty sure it is. I know it's an Android app also. So it's our hosting site, Podomatic, Podomatic, Podomatic. They have put out at least an Android app. So I don't know the 100% all the information on that, but if you want to check it out, if you don't want to use Stitcher, some people, if you have, let's say, a bug up your ass about Stitcher, you could always try the Podomatic app. And of course, we're on Podomatic. You can search for us on there, Two Strangers One Podcast. Everyone's on Facebook. My father's on Facebook. I'm surprised my mother's not on Facebook, but she just doesn't know how to use computers. And nothing against my dad being on Facebook. I'm just saying is that there's older people, younger people, everyone and their mother's on Facebook. So you can find us on Facebook.com/TwoStrangersOnePodcast, all spelled out. And if you want to reach out to us, you can write to us at twostrangersonepodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that's all spelled out, twostrangersonepodcast@gmail.com. And I just want to because I try to stay on top of the email. We have some funny people that write us and stuff like that. And also, if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Stranger Podcast, that little curly QA, whatever the fuck you want to call it, at Stranger Podcast. And like I said, if you want to see those YouTube videos, I think the best way to, if without just straight up Googling too many cooks explained or what's in the trunk, you could also find those links on our Facebook page, facebook.com/twostrangerspodcast. It just takes 2 seconds to like our page or to share us on Facebook. Let your friends know about what's going on. And I acquiesce the floor to you, sir.
All right, as usual, you can find me on Twitter at Paul Pascrillo. It's PESCRILO. You can find me on Tumblr, paulpascrillo.tumblr.com. And I also have what's called an ask.fm. That's ask.fm/Paul Pascrillo. And one thing I wanted to mention before we go is I just put up 2 new social media accounts for Nerdcore Absolution.
Volume 3?
Well, actually, Volume 3 has been announced, yes.
Okay.
Basically, if you want to know everything about Nerdcore Absolution, it's facebook.com/Nerdcore Absolution. And on Twitter, it's Nerdcore CD. So if you guys want to, like or obviously, follow that Twitter page, please do so.
Okay, so is that it, Paulie?
That is it.
We certainly hope you guys enjoyed listening, had as much fun as we did recording. Thank you for listening to Two Strangers One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
Don't be a stranger.
Peace. We're out.
Bye.
I need a fapping device.
You should be fapping right now.
Okay, give me a sec.
All right, here we go, man. Go ahead. You want to read
Double
it?
Jackpot.
What is it?
It is a self-published book by Christopher Cologne.
Chris Cologne? Smells good to me.
But
Look at her. That broke that fucking cold little exterior. He's like, hee.
But it is spelled COLON.
Him punny.
But Double Jackpot is a book about a comic book artist, Eric, who is in a loveless relationship with the materialistic
I feel you, Eric.
Lynette.
Oh, fucking. Are you sure I didn't write this? I smell sounds hauntingly familiar.
He starts cheating on his girlfriend with a more creatively supportive woman, Nadia.
Well, I gotta meet her. Where's the Nadia?
There's your summer girlfriend.
Summer Nadia is Nadia.
Nadia?
Yeah, I think Nadia is spelled with an A.
All right.
Both Lynette and Nadia play the double jackpot, the largest payout in lotto history, much like the recent Powerball. Both girls play his birth date as the winning numbers. Eric is now stuck between 2 of the country's richest women. Who will he choose? It's not that simple. This is a clever fucking idea,
Yeah, it
man.
is.
Look at her, fucking. She's impressed.
I am.
She got some summer reading. Christopher Cologne smells real lovely with an original idea. This is. I've never heard this before.
I haven't either. This is a self-published book, much in the indie spirit as Kev's Clerks.
Oh, you don't even need to name check me. This is just a good idea. You could stand on your own, man. You don't even have to be like, hey, remember Clerks? This is nothing like that. This is way more original than Clerks. This is a good idea, man. Why didn't I think of this?
I need something to read. This book is part of the Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games Trilogy Book 2. Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, coming soon.
Right on, man. It's part of a trilogy. This is the first part.
Way to write, man.
He's seeking a literary agent. Motherfuckers, anybody out there? There ain't no literary agents listening to this show. I assure you, sure. Sure. I assure you, sure. But somebody know a literary agent? Hook a motherfucker up! Chris Cologne come up with an original idea. I should tell Raskin. That's a good fucking idea, to be honest with you. That's a fucking rom-com right there. Megan, get Raskin on the phone. Isn't it possible to get Raskin on the phone? No?
Yeah.
I want to run it past him, man. I want to, and if it happens, I get a taste, Chris Cologne. I get a whiff, if you will.
The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com.
That's lulu.com.
I understand that. I just want to spell it out.
Normally one says it that spells it. Still, lulu.com. What is that? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. All right. The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com. Search for Double Jackpot Christopher Cologne. A paperback version of the book is $15, and a PDF file is only $5.
$5 is
Yeah.
insanely inexpensive. 15's not even that bad for a paperback version.
No.
This is $1 million idea right here. Like a movie about a dude who fucking is stuck between 2 chicks, both of who play his birthday and win the lottery. Come on! I can see that trailer. Chris Cologne is on to something. Nobody else can smell it but me.
I'll read it.
Thank you. I'm going to make that smelly joke.
I know. You're trying to get me to laugh again.
It worked once. Double Jackpot is a self-published book by Chris Cologne, man. It's the first book in his comic books, heavy metal, video games trilogy. Book 2, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, should be coming out soon. Get all the information at Chris Cologne, like a motherfucker.
I
and
will
his
totally
book,
read this.
Double Jackpot. I'm serious. I'm going to recommend that to fucking Raskin. How is that not a movie? You know what I'm saying? This could be a sexy movie. You could do an R-rated version. There could be nudie in it, and you could show them fucking both chicks. Maybe a little penetration. Maybe a butthole shot. No butthole, no care.
I would like to formally apologize to Christopher Cologne. Right
No,
now,
sex sells. Chris Cologne will appreciate that. He's like, thanks for throwing a few buttholes in there, man.
Don't forget to check out twostrangerspodcast.net, your one-stop resource for everything show-related. You can find links to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher. You could also find links to buy my book, Double Jackpot, on twostrangerspodcast.net.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.